got to make sure things work before you dive headfirst into it and realize that it's delayed. Oh,
Right. Of course.
and it seems to be functioning. I'll close it now so that I
Sweet.
don't get a huge echo feedback. And hopefully, if anyone's in the chat at some point, they will tell me if there are audio issues. It should be fine though. I listened to a little snippet there. We're going live. Didn't realize too that my wife is sitting right beside me listening to a video on her phone. Probably I didn't.
Children. Work.
Well, it's hard to hear it too with the headphones on, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So we're gonna jump right into this. Well, actually, I guess we should say hi again. So I'm doing these live streams for my patrons for the Imperial News podcast that we do. You can donate to that at imperialnews.com/ patreon.com/imperial news. And yeah, we're going to go through a video I have two friends with me right now, both of which were on our last stream. So hello, Elron.
Hello.
And hello.
I am Elron.
And hello, Ken.
Hi, I am Ken.
So it's just happened by circumstance that we are doing two Drea Humphrey videos in a row. She is a correspondent for Rebel News, and she went. I did. Because you're only hearing me on audio. I did the scare quotes on the video version. Last week, she compared Black Lives Matter to witchcraft, and the theme there, which was obviously silly, is that somehow witchcraft is bad, which was never explained, so therefore Black Lives Matter is bad in their association with witchcraft somehow, even though those associations were very tenuous.
Flawless logic.
And this time, she's going to talk about masks and their lack of efficacy, which is terrible given the increase in COVID that is occurring lately. But the only reason that I'm focusing on her is not because I think that her content is particularly important. It's just like lately on Rebel's YouTube feed, hers is the only content that has like a coherent argument. I realize as I say coherent, I more mean like coherent in the sense of it's an actual, like it follows the form of an argument. All the other videos tend to be as a like man on the street or person on the street interviews with like David Menzies walking up to people and be like, "Do you hate masks?" And then the person being like, "Oh, I hate masks. Masks are terrible." And it's like, what am I, like, us commenting on that would be really friggin' pointless. So we're stuck with Drea again. Oh, look, we have Sarah in the chat. Greetings.
Hello.
We actually have 5 viewers this time, so it's better than last time, which is really nice. But we're going to jump right into this video. So this is, again, an anti-mask thing. And as you could tell right away, I'm going to skip ahead because they do like a bumper for the videos. So it's like 30 seconds of them playing a clip they're going to show later in the video. And we don't need to, their artistic preference for having a bumper, we don't need to abide by that. So we will skip it in a second. But I did want to show the beginning. So if you'll notice at the very beginning here, there is a warning. YouTube requires that we indicate that some opinions in this video contradict the consensus medical opinion about COVID-19.
That's like a legal, like, let's make sure we're not liable for anything.
That's exactly what it is. But like, or at least like, aside from the liability part of it, YouTube has been kicking a lot of this crap off. So my guess is that part of it is they don't want to lose their space on YouTube, and that's why they're putting this warning here. But as like, this is the thing that like really makes me wonder if they're still breaking those rules, though. Because as we watch this video, you're going to see, like, they are very open about being anti-mask in this video. And they're giving medical opinions in this video that they shouldn't be given. But they're going to do it anyways. but it's like funny putting this warning out front, knowing that later on you're going to contradict everything in this statement, basically. All right, we'll jump ahead. Hello, Nick is in the chat as well. It's nice actually having viewers this time.
Yeah.
Oh, my boy's grown up.
You gotta skip ahead. It was weird having like a 30-second bumper. It felt so long, but it's all right. We'll get They're gonna tell us the other side of the story. So here we go. We're gonna begin. Drea Humphreys, Rebel News.
Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and at one point we were repeatedly warned about COVID-19 being so easily transmitted. We allowed healthy people to be quarantined, and it had a domino effect on our entire country.
There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
Why would...
I just...
Before we get into the mask thing, can I just say, like, the framing on this with the sun right behind her head is really bothering the shit out of me. But anyway, please, go on.
I mean, bad positioning, but also I've noticed now watching several of her videos. All her videos are shot on her back porch, it seems, or front porch.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Is she maybe working from home, do you think?
Yeah, to avoid something that is currently happening.
I can't imagine why Drea Humphreys might be working from home along with the rest of us right now. It's weird. It's just weird, isn't it? Just a little bit.
Yeah. Somewhat strange.
But I love, like, she's talking about, like, we had to, like, it's like this idea that we had to shut down everything, even though most people were not infected by this thing. And so, like, one theme throughout this is this idea that somehow less, like, if there's less people infected, we could just open up the whole thing. It's like they totally missed the step that is, like, once you open the whole thing, that's when it spreads, right? So It's like you want there to be as few healthy people who have it as possible, such that it doesn't spread and infect the people who could die from this thing. But they don't care about that. But I did love... Like, I don't even know why they put in this clip. They put in that little clip with Dr. Fauci.
Yeah.
And I'll play it again because it's, like, really brief. Yeah. And it's so inconsequential to everything, but it's still funny.
There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
Why would...
So she plays this clip. There's no reason to be walking around in a mask or with a mask. And, how about you take a guess? When do you think Fauci was saying this?
Like February, March, if
I was going to say, like,
earlier.
maybe January or February before we had, like, our major outbreaks of it.
So that clip was from March 8th on 60 Minutes.
Okay.
So it was Ken was closer to the right time frame there.
Oh, I didn't know we were playing a game here. I'll work harder for those points.
Yeah, well, you have to keep up now. Ken's taking the lead.
If it was anything like when we play Jackbox, you'll take the lead on me. Don't worry.
Yeah, but it's she's framing. Notice as well, like, we're gonna get a couple more of these, like, quick succession, like, clips, and you can tell she's framing this in, like, our current time frame. But the thing is, like, this video of him saying this about the masks happened all the way in March. So you can find billions of clips of Fauci now saying, wear a mask. We were wrong at first. We have more information. Wear a mask, right? But they're going to keep playing, like, not just her, but Rebel in other contexts will always play that Fauci clip to be like, haha, see? They're telling you not to wear a mask. But it's like, okay.
This comes back to, like, a common tactic they use to sort of incite distress in science, right? Where at the beginning we'll be sort of reserved and say, okay, you don't need to wear a mask just yet, right? There's no reason for it. And then as more data comes in, as the situation changes, different behaviors become necessary, like wearing a mask, like working from home, like quarantining if you may have a possible infection, right? And for I think most of us, this is just normal things, right? You get more information, you have to change what you're doing. But for some reason, the idea that more information leading to a change in behavior, it's just a bad thing to them.
Yeah.
I will say too, at this point, like March 8th, Ezra on his show was promoting wearing of masks and was mad at Trudeau for not mandating mask usage.
Why am I not surprised?
And then as soon as like everything changed, and now all of a sudden you have your Dr. Fauci's and your governments telling you to wear masks, is when they flipped. One of the commenters mentioned that it could be like a quote edit, that like maybe the next line he said in your house. I'm not sure with this Fauci clip whether he said it, but there's going to be in a few of the next clips coming up definite edits like that. Where it's clear, it's like if they just let the doctor finish saying what they were saying, they clearly did not say what they're accusing them of saying. But we will keep going.
Was there not a sigh of relief or a relaxing of restrictions when the World Health Organization explained that the healthy and asymptomatic people are not the big COVID spreaders we were once warned of?
But from the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmits onward to a secondary individual.
Similar.
So you have this clip, like she's trying to say that like we now know that asymptomatic people rarely transmit this thing. And
We don't know that.
well, she says we now know that, and she plays this clip. Now that person is a real person for the WHO.
Yeah.
But you can tell immediately, so I'll move this like to the screen. There's no video here, but look at this Guardian headline. WHO expert backtracks after saying asymptomatic transmission, very rare. And this was the day after that video was taken. So that video that she played was from June 8th. And this is June 9th, where she's already walked back what she said. And the reason is they have modeling studies that estimate that up to 40% of coronavirus infections could be transmitted by people who have the virus but no symptoms.
Yeah.
So rare is a relative term. It's a non-scientific term. And you could tell, like, maybe she was saying this to say that it's not common because, I don't know, maybe in her mind, anything lower than 50% is not common. But to somehow, like, go from this to be acting like it's never going to happen at all is insane.
Yeah.
And they're just saying that to their audience. Like, they don't care.
I think what I find strange most is that any of us are surprised they don't care at this point. I mean, honestly, like with the amount of bullcrap that they're pulling, just when we're a minute and 30 seconds into this, it's already like, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? How many people are you trying to get killed?
Yeah,
especially sorry, just real quick, especially in like the light of even emerging evidence now of like COVID-19, certain strains of COVID-19 going actually airborne, right? No longer about person-to-person respiratory droplets, but like actually being spread in the air. It's terrifying to think that Rebel News is now out here taking cherry-pick quotes from 7-8 months ago to try to get people to resist these important public health mandates. It's absolutely insane.
Yep. Well, and we're going to find out in a bit. Like this, there's an interview in the second half of this, and the idea has to do with mask mandates and whether masks are effective or not. And the thing is that they always confuse this notion of like, what is the purpose of a mask? So, and like the idea is that somehow the mask is supposed to protect you from the virus coming in. But this whole point about the asymptomatic stuff is very important because it's actually about people who have the virus spreading it out, right? So it's like if you have the virus and you don't know that you're infected by the virus, the reason why you want to wear a mask is because you might have it and not know it and then be spreading it to everyone, and you mitigate that by wearing a mask. That is the whole reason why you wear a mask in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's like if you downplay the fact that asymptomatic people spread the thing, this is another way of them telling you that, see, you don't need these masks because asymptomatic people don't spread this thing. And I'm going to quote mine you this thing from like 7 months ago. It's just so dangerous.
Yeah.
And again, they had that warning at the beginning of this video.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, this is what they do for everything, right? Is they, like I was saying, they cherry pick one thing from a long time ago that may or may not have been debunked. Usually it has been, or the person they're quoting has walked back what they've said, because it allows them to paint their narrative, paint their picture in the way they want it to go. And they trust that their audience will not go and do the legwork necessary to see if what they're actually saying makes sense or is true or even remotely accurate.
You raise a good point here, which I always think about, which is that there are these like really superficial level cuts that they do that like anyone watching this should know. Oh, well, if you just go look up the video, it's clearly going to say that they're wrong. And they're like saying things that are so wrong on the face of it. Yeah, like I almost feel like it doesn't matter.
No.
These, because they just love the fact that they're saying this. It's almost like they realize it's alive, but it's a lie, but they still love it anyways. It's this weird relationship with it. Because like
it's comfort food. Yeah.
Because like even I think Nick in the chat, like that cut was so immediate. It's just such a, like a tiny like, and like all these things are like that, where it's like anyone watching this could go, that's clearly a cut. It's clearly a cut. But
yeah.
Let's go. Oh.
Lara lead the world.
What the hell's going on here?
I didn't do it.
What? It's like
Lara lead the.
Okay, maybe I gotta restart here. Something, or it's not gonna.
Lara lead the World Health Organization now acknowledges that requiring humans to stay 2 meters away from other humans is unnecessary. Right in their protect yourself and others from COVID-19 guidelines, the advice is that maintaining at least 1 meter distance between yourself and others is sufficient. Yet have you seen any businesses revise their 2 meter COVID restriction signs or their red circles that you have to line up at to buy groceries? I haven't.
Good for you.
Good. Keep the 2 meter distance. Why is this so difficult?
Yeah.
And by the way, just to throw this out there for those that haven't been paying attention, like you should be keeping an optimal distance between you and other human beings right now, right? Unless they're in your direct social or family bubble, you should try to keep distance. It's in the cases of and you should be wearing a mask, especially in cases where you have to get within 1 to 2 meters of people. But you still want to maintain as much difference as possible, especially from those people that sneeze really flipping hard out in the air without covering their face and then spray you with all their mucus and germs. You don't want that.
Yeah. So, because you can clearly see the website where this quote thing is coming from, I was curious to see what the WHO site actually says. So, I have the current site right here, and notice here. Let's see if I can minimize this to the point where we can see them side by side. So we got. Oops, I went a bit different. No, here we go. So the wording still is pretty close, but they changed it up a little bit. So my guess is this is an old website that they're using this clip from that says maintain at least 1 meter, 3 feet distance between yourself and others. Now the WHO still is saying maintain at least 1 meter distance. And as you said, Elron, it's probably better to do 2 meters. And I know in Canada, that's what our health ministers are recommending. But it says here, so maintain at least 1 meter distance between yourself and others to reduce your risk of infection when they cough, sneeze, or speak. Maintain an even greater distance between yourself and others when indoors. So already it's saying 1 meter is not enough inside. And then it says the further away, the better.
Very clear.
Now, I don't know when The Who updated their website, so this could be what they had on their website around March, and things have changed since then. But again, it's it's like I'll reverse it a bit. You can hear Drea. It's clear that she's talking about as if The Who says this now, which they obviously don't.
The World Health Organization now acknowledges requiring humans to stay 2 meters away from other humans is unnecessary. Right in their protect yourself and others from COVID-19 guidelines, the advice is that maintaining at least 1 meter distance between yourself and others is sufficient. Yet have you seen any businesses revise their 2 meter COVID restriction signs or their red circles that you have to line up at to buy groceries?
And before we go on, notice as well that she says they're saying that the 1 meter thing is sufficient. Nowhere, even in the other one, said that it was sufficient, right? And in the updated one, it's like, please go further if you can. It's better to be as far away as possible.
Yeah.
It's so fucking so dangerous and stupid. Why? Why do this to people?
I haven't.
It's gonna do this thing again.
Haven't. Would someone please share this good news with this funeral home? Look at that. So quick to rush back to a 2 meter distance like a prisoner stepping out of line during roll call. According to Darren Grimes, that was sons trying to console their mother at their father's funeral. And speaking of the cure being worse than the virus, contrary to popular...
So, just tugs on the heartstrings, What, So my initial thoughts on this is actually, there's a part of me that goes, something like that is a little bit ridiculous. And, it's kind of sad and annoying that they did that.
Yeah. And
Nick's reacting to it this way as well. And I will say, Nick, this is from the UK. That clip is from the UK. So, but I'm a bit sympathetic. But then I'm just curious. I want to play it again, just the full clip, because she goes back and plays a shorter clip again. I want you to watch the full clip, and then I want you to tell me what you witnessed when you watched that clip. So let's go back a bit here.
Trying to console their mother at their father's funeral.
That was far
and
enough.
Speaking of the back to a 2 meter... Please share this good news
we'll
with
watch
this
it first and then tell me what you
home.
see.
Look at...
So what do you see happening in that clip that they played at the funeral home? Now that you've studied it for a second time.
I mean, maybe I'm not super observant, but I mean, they moved away from the person in the middle, and now they are 3. They are separate, 2 meters apart. And I'm with you in the sense that, I do think it's a little annoying because, if they're in the same pod, so to speak, probably isn't necessary. But again, what are we supposed to see, Jody?
I don't know. I just want to see if you pick up on something that I think... I want to hear Elron first before I go on. That's part of the experiment here.
Sure.
You could just say that you agree with Ken, that you saw what you saw.
Yeah, I know. I didn't really see it. I know.
So...
What we're looking for.
So here's the thing: is I wouldn't have seen this either. You could sort of, when I play the full clip in context, you now are going to see a detail, I think, that was missing from what they played. And so I'm going to, and I'm curious, even just playing the other clip, whether you see the missing detail or not. So this site might be buggy. So as I said, you might need to have Steam open so you can see it, because we're not using the one play clip. Are you ready? Ron and Ken?
Go for it.
All right. Let's see. So this is the full context. Hopefully it doesn't give me a stupid ad. It might give me a stupid ad.
It's my privilege to have been asked to conduct our service today to celebrate the life of Alan Wright. I therefore offer you all a very warm welcome as we unite in love and friendship to...
All right, we can stop it there as the website decides to die. So did you notice?
So I was
Yeah, go for it.
curious. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I was curious what the other guy was doing in the clip. I didn't see the chair moving. So basically, the two sons started moving, and that was encouraging other people to move as well.
And that's the given reason for why the funeral director stepped in. Because at first he was like, it's okay that the two sons moved to their mom, but now realized that created like a culture where moving the chairs was acceptable. Because now this other person who's not one of the sons started moving their chair.
Okay.
And that's the reason why he stepped in. And of course, like her framing it of it is just like, how dare, like they were just trying to comfort their mom and this like poor guy. And part of me is like, I can see it from the perspective of the funeral person, is like the person who owns this place, where it's like there's laws in place, and if it gets out that you like allowed the social distancing to go to hell for this one family and you get fined, now it's all on you, right?
Right. Exactly.
So it's and part of it is like it should have, like I've had family members who have died during this pandemic, and I'm not saying that it's easy. It sucks. And like the ability to like have a moment where you come together and remember this person is much harder, given that we're in the middle of a global pandemic. But I'm able to realize that, hey, maybe I don't want to kill the rest of my family by not being careful in these circumstances, right?
Sure.
Just me. But I love it. And like part of me goes like, I'm not even sure like what this has to do with anything other than to show like, oh look, we're being so strict on this distancing thing, even though the WHO still tells you to keep apart from each other. Like, so.
I mean, I think I know that's the UK, but at least in the US, I think the CDC is still very much like, 6 feet at least, guys, minimum.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but
Canada, it's 2 meters. Yeah, which is roughly 6 feet. Listen, the metric system is better, and you just because you are the sole outlier of sticking with the imperial system.
Listen.
Yeah, go on. I want to hear it.
The imperial system.
Fair. I guess fitting with our show title.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was just keeping it in theme with the show title or the podcast title.
And hello, Paige, in the chat. I'm trying to read the chat too. It's just I haven't done. This is the first time I have an active chat, so it's hard to learn the muscle to like look at both.
Where is the chat? Because I've been trying to find it and I can't find it anywhere.
if you go to the Twitch thing, it should pop up. Happening while you're watching it. I have it on the thing that's helping me actually stream this, but you can't access that.
I see. Okay, that's why I was so confused, but that makes sense now.
All right,
Look at
I think
that.
we'll try to jump ahead maybe because we just watched a bunch of this crap.
Not a line during roll call. According to Darren Grimes, that was sons trying to console their mother at their father's funeral. And speaking of the cure being worse than the virus, contrary to popular belief, it's not conspiracy talk to point out that yes, while wearing masks can have benefits in very rare and limited circumstances, there are also risks to wearing masks in general. It's especially now that many of us are being forced to wear them every single day.
So,
Excuse me? What? What?
so it's so stupid. You can tell she's she's setting up that oh, masks only have this limited a teeny weeny bit of effectiveness here, and now it's being forced on us, and so we're getting all these evil things are happening to us. So what's going to occur right now is we're going to get clip after clip after clip of of things that she thinks are evidence of why masks are bad for you. So I think what we're going to do is watch the whole thing, and then we'll take each clip at a time through it. So
Let me just take a shot real quick.
yeah. Here we go.
The facial things can cause a different type of problem. With kids returning to school, local doctors say children are at a heightened risk of contracting impetigo.
Dr. Dahlia Wax discussing the latest issue in the oral hygiene world that appears to be caused by constant mask wear.
As we're wearing the mask, rather than breathing through our nose like you would think, we're breathing more through our mouth.
Temperatures keep climbing.
You add heat, humidity, probably months of more physical inactivity than usual because of social isolation and distancing, and now you mask up, it's certainly going to make it a lot more difficult to breathe, which can lead to further respiratory complications.
So if we people are unlikely to spread the
Stop
virus
talking.
to other
You're
people.
done. So
Listen, I gotta be real. I had to look up what impetigo is.
yeah, impetigo it's looks like little blisters that will occur around your mouth, and usually it affects children. Now, I don't necessarily need to play the video that I have, but I basically found each news clip that she brings up there just to see how the news reports themselves frame this thing. So the first one about the impetigo, the first thing to note is if you watch the actual clip that Drea plays, you can hear her saying something like the masks are causing or we have this increase of cases because of the mask. And that itself is not actually true, because a lot of people have this virus. It just doesn't express itself or in terms of the blisters. And so what happens is the mask wearing can, for people who are already infected, start exhibiting those traits, right?
Gotcha.
So it's not that these masks are causing an increase of this thing. It's just that they're making the symptoms worse in that sense. Now, that being said, there's two things that you can do for this, which is antibiotics and washing your mask.
Proper hygiene.
And it's good it's good for this local news team to be putting out this video, because some people might not know that you should wash your mask, or if wear disposable ones and make sure you're throwing them out, which is what the doctor on the news clip recommends. And so in that sense, yes, it's important to know, and I can understand why a news broadcast would do this. But for her to frame it as these masks have these unforeseen circumstances and they're terrible, when it's this is a non-life-threatening disease. And it can be fixed by washing your mask and taking antibiotics. And so you compare that with the severity of COVID-19, and it's a no fucking brainer. Part of this is supposed to be a risk analysis, right? And they're gonna touch on risk analysis later on, but it's if it's a risk analysis, I would risk my kid possibly, if they're infected with this thing, having a few blisters over them getting COVID and spreading it to people who could die from it.
Sorry, Jody, you don't want your children to have neurological damage and damage to their lungs and damage to their heart. You'd rather have them have blisters on their mouth.
Yeah,
you
monster.
Goddamn monster.
I'm a monster. Yeah. Then, so that was the first one, and we don't have to watch the video. I was going to like prove it, but I don't think I need to prove it. It's pretty straight up. The other the other one that was funny was what was it, the dentist who said something about the mouth breathing.
Oh God, yes.
And
we're breathing through our mouth now.
And one of the arguments that she makes is that wearing a mask makes you more likely to breathe through your mouth. And I've never heard that before. And I tried my best to like find a single study that says anything in that ballpark. Could not find one. So like, I'm not saying that it's not the case, and maybe a study out there exists, but I can't even think of like what would be like the psychological mechanism, like what wearing the mask now all of a sudden you're going to breathe through your mouth and not your nose, and that's going to cause problems.
I can say personally, I alternate between the two because I wear glasses, and unless I can get the mask to sit just perfectly, underneath the glasses fog up, and I'm like, does it matter if I breathe through my nose or my mouth? Which fogs up the glasses less? So occasionally I will just be like walking through the grocery store like trying not to like fog my glasses up. That's the only thing I could possibly think of.
I mean, I'm a bit of a nose breather, and I breathe through my nose while I'm wearing a mask. I find like also like whenever I've
never heard that before. I'm a bit of a nose breather. I like to breathe normally sometimes, just
some
people, once in a while.
I
like to breathe dangerously.
I did get curious on this point because like I was like, is mouth breathing like really a problem? Like the woman in the clip was sort of like indicating, and I'm not a doctor or a research scientist in this field, so part of like I don't know, but there looked like there was some evidence that might suggest that mouth breathing could be problematic for various reasons, whether it be orthodontal reasons or if it be certain things like I guess like the nose has the proper stuff to keep bacteria out or some shit. Like, this is from a cursory glance, it looked like there may be some evidence in that thing, but I'm not going to speak to it, so it could all just be bullshit. I don't know, but then it's like so like I can get why it's like, okay, breathe through your nose because it's like better, but then it's like again the mask. There's no, if anything, like I find that especially me with the beard, breathing through the mouth gets really annoying with a mask on because then the hairs get all fucked up. So so I just like breathe through my nose, but I haven't had a problem. I don't know, it's really stupid. Yeah. And so I just ignored that. I didn't even find the clip. I was just like, I don't know what she's on about, so I'll ignore that.
Yeah. Points down, move along.
And even if like the orthodontal thing is correct, I don't think like for the limited time that people would be wearing a mask, if what she's saying is true, that it tends to make you breathe through your mouth, I don't think that it would have sufficient time to cause that damage if we like stop wearing masks like months from now or something. But who do I know? I don't know.
Yeah.
Then the last one about heat, which I do want to play that clip just for the end of it. Because here's the thing with all these clips. At every point during these clips, the doctor at some point says, I still think you should wear the mask though because of COVID. So you remember, why are you playing? Stop. So as we're saying, right, if we're talking about a risk assessment here, when the doctors in these videos are still telling you to wear your mask, maybe you should wear your fucking mask and not be telling your audience that, see, it's bad for you. So we're going to play the clip of the doctor from this video here because the doctor can say it better than I can.
Humidity, probably months of more physical inactivity than usual because of social isolation and distancing. And now you mask up, it's certainly going to make it a lot more difficult to breathe, which can lead to further respiratory complications.
You also have a better chance of overheating when you're wearing a mask when it's this hot outside.
Our body has several methods and mechanisms how we can cool ourselves down, sweating, etc. But one of them is through breathing out hot air. So if we're, one, increasing our work of breathing because we're breathing through a mask, in the heat and the humidity, and then we're unable to exhale hot air, then certainly overheating can occur.
There are several symptoms you should watch for.
If the symptoms of heat stroke or overheating or respiratory difficulties such as severe tiredness, very fast heart rate, severe panting, then absolutely take the mask off, sit down, try to cool down, take a few breaths.
If you have to be outside in the heat and humidity, especially during this time when
I
wearing
love all
masks
this stock
is the
footage.
recommendation, taking breaks and staying
People with
hydrated may be
masks.
more important than ever. And you can start conditioning your body now before it gets hotter.
The general recommendation that I give all of my patients, irrespective of what's going on in the world with respect to wearing masks, is 30 minutes of daily moderate intensity aerobic exercise. We still advocate the use of masks, social isolation, and distancing, and the guidelines that we've recommended, they are working.
So we'll just pause it there because there's no need to hear the rest there, right? Social isolation, wearing the mask, distancing, we all recommend that. We still encourage you to do it, right? Because it's like, obviously, if you're suffering from heat stroke, take the mask off, take a knee, like...
Yeah.
Did you...
Yeah, like,
I'm laughing.
Still applies, right?
Yeah. It's like, no. If you're dying, you have to keep that mask on at all costs.
You will go down with this shit.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fucking stupid. But like, it's again, like you play those things in close succession, and we'll go back and just because like her framing of it too is just like, we need to wear these masks or we're going to have all these problems. Actually, we don't need to watch it again. It's too long. We'll jump ahead here to where we left off. And we'll get back into it just to see where this goes, because it's eventually going to get to this really terrible interview.
I'm sure it'll be very logical wherever it goes.
If you sign up for Logic, it ain't here. Oh, I don't know why it does this all the time.
Respiratory complications.
So, if we know healthy people are unlikely to spread the virus to other people, shouldn't we be allowed to make an informed decision as to whether or not the risks to wearing a mask outweigh the risk posed to people that we have no intention of getting close to in the first place? And are the masks the majority of people are wearing? Are those masks even preventing them from contracting the virus? To answer the question of efficiency, I interviewed an expert named Chris Schaefer from SafeCom Training Services. When it comes to knowing more about personal protective equipment, Chris is the one to talk to. For the last 27 years, he has been training medical professionals like doctors and nurses, as well as conducting fit tests to allow such professionals to know how to stay safe. Here is what Chris had to say.
Now,
so we're about to get this interview. Like, ignore all the bullshit preamble that she gives. We're about to get this.
It's hard. It's hard for you.
Well, because oh, we should have the right to make an informed choice after I just gave my audience a bunch of bullshit for several minutes. So this guy, Chris Schaefer, he works for this company that it's called SafeCom, and they just teach training courses. So for those in Canada, they teach like WMIS and stuff like this, which is like workplace hazardous material stuff. So, you know.
Excuse me, WMIS?
Well, I don't know. Is it like, is it an international thing?
No, I just had never heard of WMIS before. I thought it was going to be like some weird Canadian treat or something.
No,
it's like if you go to like it's like a workplace thing, or at least that's where I know it from. Like all the places I worked when I was younger would have like a board in the back somewhere. Like WMIS is like it's a workplace health and safety thing, right? Like just doing. I thought it was
like it's hazardous information material sheet or something like that. So
so it's like OSHA standards or something.
So it's sort of. It'll be like information on like chemical cleaners or shit that you have at your place of work. So it's like, don't mix bleach with this, or don't get bleach in your eyes. And if you do get bleach in your eyes, here's how to like deal with it. And so especially if you work at a place where there are going to be hazardous materials, they get you to do it. So I used to work at Canadian Tire back in the day, for any of the people in Canada who knows what that is, but it's like a Walmart, basically kind of like a Walmart, with more of like a bend towards the automotive stuff and like camping and outdoor stuff. And so we had cleaning supplies that we sold there. And so we also had cleaning supplies we had to use to clean the aisles. So you had to take women's training to basically learn how to handle those materials or how to dispose of them if things break or whatever. And so it seems like he runs this company that teaches this stuff. Now, I don't know to what extent they're good at it or successful or like whatnot. And the other thing is, like, he makes claims, and she made claims there about him doing this for like 20 some odd years and working for the government, and especially in terms of like helping medical doctors and stuff like this. It's quite possible that he did these things, but there's no way for me to determine that that's the case. But it's also kind of irrelevant. But so he does offer a course on his website, aside from women's training and other training, training on how to use masks with respirators on them. So that is listed on his website for what it's worth. But as you're going to see, it's kind of irrelevant or not irrelevant, but just, he's just as much an idiot is what I'm trying to say. Just to be blunt, we're going to get into it. I don't know, it wasn't doing this last time. It's really annoying.
Give us a little bit more. I said a little taste of what it is you do and what makes you qualified for this discussion today. But if you could just give a little excerpt about anything that I've missed with that would be great.
Well, I am the director of SafeCom. Before that, I was the director and manager of hygiene or training services for a large.
I will say his website looks like it's straight out of like the early 90s.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm looking right now.
It looks like my high school website when I was in school. And also, he's real smart when he sits in front of a whole bookshelf full of books,
And I will add too, when I went to this website, it says not secure. But we keep going.
Different companies, some are billion-dollar companies, some not, but I'm definitely qualified to speak on respirators.
So what do you have to say about people walking around, thinking, their DIY masks that they made with all these cool colors, their fashion masks, or even buying them at a fashion store, it matches their top. What do you have to say about people like myself, who used to be like myself, I should say, who think they're safe in walking around with that type of protection?
A respirator is
we'll go on to see his explanation, but I just love that she has to say, like, I used to be like that and wear a mask, but I'm different now. I've learned. I am no longer.
Jesus.
But we're now going to get into... So she's asking about, like, the cloth masks. And now he's going to get to it in a very roundabout way. But notice how he immediately starts by not talking about the cloth masks. And so we'll go into it.
It's a very sophisticatedly engineered piece of equipment used to filter or deactivate contaminants in the air, one or the other. So not all respirators are designed to filter. Some have attachments that are designed to deactivate other chemicals or problems in the air, right? So just to be clear here is that if you take a piece of cloth or whatever other homemade masks are made out of, and you put it against your mouth and nose, that is not a respirator. That is a mask that is blocking. It's a cover that's blocking your ability to breathe. Anytime that you start to restrict your ability to breathe.
Stop talking! All right. So I might have to replay that just a little bit. But you notice, so he went from talking about these respirators and then going, but these other masks are not respirators. Now, if you remember something that I said at the beginning of this episode, which is that the point of wearing the mask is not about protecting yourself from the virus that you breathe in. So right. This whole point about talking about respirators is just nonsense, utter nonsense.
Yeah, right.
Because it's not about you breathing in the particles. It's the fact of whether or not the cloth that's in front of you is preventing the shit from coming out so that it affects other people. Or at least is an impediment, right? Because it's not going to be perfect 100%.
It's a better than nothing situation.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like, even most of the masks, like, you see them, they scrunch up here, and they could, like, I know it'll look ridiculous on the audio, but, like, they could close, or the video, out the side, right? You're going to get some dispersal. And that, even like that, it's okay, because what it's doing is at least mitigating that. Especially, like, if you sneeze, it's going to stop a lot of the forward momentum of the spray and the stuff.
Yep.
Right.
And that's...
So I was just going to say, for the two of you, I put an article that was published in Science like last month, but we've known about this since like July, that certain mask types and fabrics or whatever where materials, there we go, it's the M word. Certain materials do a better job of blocking droplets during normal speech, with like net gaiters doing the absolute flipping worst. But standard like polycotton or cotton masks doing just fine at containing droplet. And so like this idea, like, and obviously if like you have a fitted respirator, sure, like an N95, that's great. But like for most people, just using like a polyprop, polycotton, or just cotton mask is great for stopping droplets that might contain COVID.
Yeah, for the first month or so of the pandemic, I had an old, like, 20-year-old Batman t-shirt I don't wear anymore, and I tied it around my head for grocery shopping until I got some masks. So, I mean, it's better than nothing.
Well, I hope you washed it, or else you'd get
I threw that shit out.
I mean, I still use, we had sheets, and we folded it the requisite number of times that it said that the advice we were getting to say, to get the appropriate amount of thickness to prevent stuff from going places. And we made those masks, and they're easier to wash. Like, a lot of the disposable ones, like, I didn't want to contribute to the waste and constantly throw these masks out.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and hopefully we've been doing a good job. But again, it's like you do what you can to try to, like, I can't stop going grocery shopping. You know? So you at least do something you can to help other people, you know? Yep. But yeah, but notice as well, so he's complaining that, like, these things aren't respirators. Now, that complaint would make sense if your worry is you breathing it in yourself or whatever. But notice as well that he's going to jump from this to then start talking about it impeding airflow and preventing you from breathing. And the thing is, if it is so porous that the virus can just, like, shoot out and you can breathe it in, you can breathe in air particles too. Like, this argument does not make any fucking sense. And, like, we'll watch him do the pivot. But it's so stupid.
Made out of, and you put it against your mouth and nose, that is not a respirator. That is a mask that is blocking. It's a cover that's blocking your ability to breathe. And anytime that you start to restrict your ability to breathe, and you're not able to inhale oxygen, and you're not able to expel carbon dioxide in a very normal, natural way like we do without a mask, you're going to start experiencing health problems very quickly. Oxygen is essential. The right flow, the concentration of oxygen is essential in the atmosphere for us to lead a healthy life and to be healthy. And as soon as that is reduced or cut off, we start to feel the negative consequences immediately. Things that would be signs of oxygen deprivation that we see common with people, especially.
I just have the fucking footage.
Yeah, what is this?
How did they get that? Is that like, is that like Ezra's grandpa just like on his deathbed from COVID?
I thought it was like the scene of like Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight Rises, like.
But like he's talking about masks impeding airflows. They're just like, this man is dying.
If only he had never worn a mask.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. He wouldn't be there if he didn't wear a mask. Oh,
he's the one man in an entire ward of COVID patients who got ill from wearing a mask.
I like all. There's gonna be more weird stock footage throughout this whole fucking interview, but like this is the beginning where I was just like, "What the fuck are they doing?" Here we go.
For several hours, be things like headaches, dizziness, lack of coordination, extreme tiredness. These are all signs of hypoxia, which is oxygen deprivation. And it's common because they're not designed to be worn over your mouth and nose. They're not designed to be breathed through. They're not engineered for that purpose. And a respirator is an engineered device. It's specifically for that purpose. Whereas a mask is a cover. And just like we were taught as children, don't put a bag over your head because it could be dangerous.
That's totally the same thing.
That's exactly what that doctor is wearing right now. And that mask is the same thing as a plastic bag. Same exact thing.
Yeah.
Although I will say, Rebel News correspondents, you should try it. Just try putting a bag on your, just for a few minutes. Just let me know how that goes.
I mean, this stock image in particular, I was just like, the contrast in him talking about this plastic bag over your head to this image of a doctor who wears masks like this on a regular basis is just insanity to me. Because like anyone who's watching this would go, wait a second, you're trying to tell me that things that doctors wear almost daily for like 8 hours a day is the equivalent of like putting your head in a bag? Why don't we have why aren't medical doctors just dropping dead constantly from hypoxia?
That was the thing that I had kind of just my brother is certainly not an anti-masker, but he was kind of like, I don't like the idea of having to wear a mask all the time. Like, it kind of sucks. And plus, like, I don't know how effective it is at stopping me from transmitting the virus because the particles are smaller than the fibers or whatever. And I was like, but that's not like it travels in expectorants. Like, it prevents, like, you sneeze, it'll at least reduce the
spread.
Likelihood of you transmitting the thing, like it won't necessarily completely stop it. It'll do better than you not wearing any kind of mask. And it's not that, it doesn't restrict your breathing that badly at all.
Well, that, and these doctors are probably wearing it for like other types of like splatters. Like dentists will wear this just because like saliva is shooting out of my mouth while they're like operating, right?
Exactly.
And it's like a mask like that would totally block it. But then it's like the other argument saying that somehow it's going to impede your ability to breathe, such that we're going to have like this, like he called it common, as if hypoxia is common. How many people do you know who've suffered from hypoxia?
I had never heard of it until this pandemic broke out and I started hearing this shit.
Like, no one is suffering from, like, I mean, I'm sure people are suffering from hypoxia, but I haven't seen a single study indicating that somehow the increase in mask usage given COVID has caused an increase in the rise of hypoxia.
Yeah, I mean, just the one little brief side note I thought of when he was trying to make the equivalent of like a bag over your head made me think of it. In the early days of the pandemic, there was like this meme or post that came out showing people who were similar to me with my Batman t-shirt trying to figure out unique ways of covering their faces and stuff. And like you had people like wearing trash bags or whatever. There was one guy I remember seeing, he had like one of those water cooler things on his head and that sort of stuff. And it's like, yeah, they're not. It's something, right? It looks ridiculous, right? Like it looks ridiculous, but I'm like, you gotta cover it somehow until masks are widely available. So I couldn't hate.
We'll go on. We'll hear the other magical stuff this guy has to say.
Right.
God damn it.
Right.
Blocking your mouth and nose is not a smart idea.
What are the difference between things like a KN95 and then an N95? How does that pair up when being worn to protect yourself from COVID-19?
I will say before he starts talking too, like I didn't know there was this other K95 like mask thing. And so I didn't know that this is something that we needed to figure out or get to the bottom of, but he's going to get to the bottom of it.
That's a good question. And just to clarify, the N95 is an actual certified, tested, proven safe respirator by the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. And you can't say that about KN95. So KN95 is a kind of, I think, created. I never even heard of KN95s before COVID was announced. So
I don't even know if
it was
that's a
something that was just
K95
created to give somebody to wear, but it definitely does not have the same regulation or protections or safety testing that an N95 does. And and I've been following and tracking, and I get a lot of feeds of questions potentially on what type of chemicals were made in the KN95, because it seems to be, and this is not my personal experience, but this is just from other people that I'm hearing, is that it seems to be some people are getting ill from some of these respirators coming out of China because of the chemicals that were put into it that wouldn't face the same regulatory scrutiny as they would in North America.
He's heard through the grapevine. He's gotten like little tidbits of information that have been fed to him.
that I'm sure are totally logical.
That these masks, quite possibly, could have poisons from China.
It's China. It's always China.
Oh my god.
And like
China.
This image being like projected on their screen while they're talking about this too is about the fact like earlier in the pandemic there was a bunch of masks that got shipped from China to America that were not effective. Like they had some defects in them and it was news for like a couple days. So that happened. And it happened to be these other masks that he's referring to. That being said, that has nothing to do with like chemicals in the mask. I could find no story at all about these chemicals in that particular mask or any reason why China would send these chemically poisonous masks to America.
Jody, everything is China's fault. That's
why. The other thing is interesting is that earlier slide that she held up was from a site that talks about mask safety and listed the KN95 mask as basically the equivalent of the N95. It's just more common in China. Now, I don't know that to be absolutely the case. I'm not an expert in this. I just found it ironic that the image that they chose was an image arguing the exact opposite of what he's trying to argue right here. And that was the only image that they could find. It was one of my first searches too for this like stuff, right? But of course, it's like, again, China, it's all evil China. God, I don't know why it's doing this.
For the same product.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time something like that has happened from a product coming out of China. I have to say about some of these mandates, including in some places children and having to wear it. Some people have backpedaled from this, but having to wear it in school for hours and hours and things like that.
It's a bad idea. It's a really bad idea. None of these masks that people are wearing, these ones with no inhalation or exhalation valves, were designed to be worn anytime. And I'm just talking N95 because N95 is an actual low-level respirator, the lowest protection, in fact, of all respirators. But people aren't using N95s. They're reserved for hospital staff. They're not available to the general public. They're all sold out. Even hospital staff are having a hard time locating actual N95s. So what are they using instead? They're using something like this. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. This style, right? People are using this. And this is not going to filter anything at all. It doesn't seal to the face. It's designed as a cover only. It can't filter anything, not even dust, not even large particles, much less viruses, nothing. You know, if somebody was, let's say, going to be working around sawdust or any type of large particulate, the minimum that I would recommend would be something like this. This is a half mask with P100 filters, with filters rated with 100% protection. It's not going to be 100%. It's not 100%, even at the particulate size that it's rated for. But just to give you an idea, this isn't going to stop a virus. So if this, which is an actual proper respirator that actually seals to your face, isn't going to stop a virus, then you tell me how something like this that loosely fitted cannot seal to the face at all, along with these cloth masks that if they do seal to the face, they're just going to cause oxygen deprivation. They're not respirators. This isn't a respirator, and a cloth mask isn't a respirator. And if you're putting something that's closely fitting to your face that's not designed to be breathed through, and it's causing oxygen deficiency, that's a 4.
that actor crushed it.
Again, like he immediately like whatever he was saying about that other mask or whatever, like, yeah, that isn't supposed to keep viruses out. It's supposed to be for people working like wood and stuff like this. And even like the filters for like gas masks, the issue isn't, I think, the filter size. It has to be with the deactivating chemicals and stuff in the mask that filter the air or whatever. But then to say like that little mask isn't going to impede anything, but it's going to fucking kill you. It's the move that like just blows my mind.
It ain't gonna stop that virus, but it will contribute to hypoxia.
It really is like, it's just like a fundamental misunderstanding, whether willful or not, of like what the masks are for and how they work. And it kind of like his example there where he was using about like sawdust, when he used that, reminded me of, I literally think it was within the past week or two, some anti-mask thing went around of this guy who was doing like sandblasting or something. He's like, see, look at my face. I was wearing this mask that's on my face right now, and look at how much stuff I've still got all around my mouth and nose and stuff. And the mask is on fucking upside down and not being used properly. So it's like, they don't seem to understand that A, the mask is not to prevent the virus from getting in, it's to prevent it from getting out or from you to transmit it if you may have it. And B, you don't seem to understand how to use the thing properly anyway. So even if you knew what it was supposed to be for, you're wearing it incorrectly. So it's just a whole bunch of bullshit.
I would hope at least that he understands how to wear one of those masks appropriately. If he's giving lectures on this, if people are hiring him to like train workforces and to wear those masks. But again, like as you pointed out, which is correct, he's framing it in terms of like, well, if it's designed to keep out wood chunks, it's not designed to keep out virus. So why would you wear this mask? And it's like, again, because it's not about you breathing in the virus.
Yeah.
Right? This whole discussion is framed around those terms, which are completely incorrect. I love this fucking stock footage, though. My God.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
It was like, this guy is so boring. We need to spice it up a bit.
Of self-suffocation.
But in closing, if somebody really wanted to, if they're like, you know what, I'm not coming out of my bubble here and tell no one has COVID, you know, but then they had to go out and take the garbage out. What would they have to suit up as? What would they have to look like and to actually protect themselves from catching the virus?
You'd have to look like an actual virologist that actually knows how to protect themselves from viruses, which is simply, you got to have a whole protective encapsulated suit that would cover you from head to toe, and it would cover all exposed skin surfaces, and it would provide you with a separate source of air, separate from the air around you. So to give you an example, most people don't know this, but it's absolutely factual, is that viruses, because they're so tiny, they can enter through your eyes and the surface of your skin just as easily as they can through your mouth or nose. So even...
So we hit two big parts here.
Yeah.
One is he thinks he thinks that COVID should be treated like, I guess, Outbreak, the movie, was treated, where everyone is in like hazmat suits.
Yeah, I mean, the article I posted in our chat was the one I was talking about earlier. There's some ideas in there for everyone to get some full-on suits, not serious ones.
Well, I mean, there is one thing here, which is that it might be the case that if every single human being had hazmat suits, like, that would work.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, our governments could barely get together to give doctors the fucking masks they need.
Exactly. Like, it's not realistic in terms of, like, actually being able to get it done.
No. And so it's like, we came up with a pretty cost-effective method to just get people to not spread the thing, which is just cover your fucking mouth with some cloth. Yeah. Like, it's not...
My work provided us with masks that are made out of seemingly 2 layers of, like, basketball jersey or something like that. It's like, you know, it's better than nothing, but it's something, and I'm good with it myself.
Well, how can you even breathe in that thing, man?
I'm
surprised you don't have hypoxia.
I know. I mean, you should see my face right now. I'm a fucking monster,
covered in swords.
Oh my God! But then the last bit, what was it? It was something about the easiness. It's just as easy for the virus to get in through your eyes as it is through, like, your mouth and nose.
Right, yeah.
And the thing is, like, you can get infected through your eyes. But to, like, frame that in terms of, like, easy is not correct. Because, like,
no.
the intensity of the infection and whether or not the thing thrives inside of you has often to do with the viral load. And you get way more viral load from breathing the thing in than whatever amount you might get through your eyes or skin.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, to frame it for a dummy like me that has to hear things like really slowly sometimes, like if you're in an area where there's a lot of virus in the air that's been aerosolized and it's gonna enter through your eyes, it's because some asshole was near you and sneezed without a mask on.
Licked your eyeball.
Right. So like your mask won't protect you from that because it's not designed to protect you from stuff coming in. It's to prevent it from going out. So it's kind of, in that sense, it doesn't really matter.
But that's his argument for the hazmat suit. That, like, since this thing can enter anywhere, like, you need to do a hazmat suit. And it's like, the reason why the cloth thing is being recommended is, again, mitigating risk. You know?
Exactly.
It's like, of course this thing could go in through. You could be, like, the rare case where you walked by someone, they sneezed, and it went in through your eyeball.
Yeah.
Shit luck.
Yeah, exactly. That's why if that other person was wearing a mask like a non-idiot, you wouldn't have the problem of it getting into your eye.
Yeah. Let's hear what else this master has to say.
Even if somebody was to say, the argument isn't even this. We know these don't protect against viruses. They don't protect against particles that small. And if people want to say that, oh, they're going to encapsulate big droplets and stuff like that, yeah, maybe some big droplets, a lot of small droplets will come through it. This offers far superior protection to what people are currently using right now. Okay, But even if it was 100%, then you're still going to have virus exposure through the pores of your skin and your eyes, and it's not going to make any real difference at all. Right? Don't block out your oxygen unless you really should be using something that's designed to be breathed through, so it doesn't cause hypoxia. Recognize the signs. If you're getting headaches, if you're getting sick, if you're getting nausea, if you're feeling dizzy, there's something wrong. And cutting off your oxygen can be immediately dangerous. We can survive only a few minutes without oxygen. We can survive days without water and weeks without food. Oxygen is definitely the most essential nutrient that we need to stay healthy.
How are medical professionals perceiving you for talking out? I don't want to say against masks, but against masks that aren't designed to do what people are wearing them.
It's almost done. We might as well just.
You know what? Honestly, I haven't really heard much feedback from medical professionals since this whole COVID thing started. There's been a lot of silence everywhere. I've had I've had some support. Don't get me wrong. I get support from all over the world because I wrote a letter to Dr. Hinshaw June 26th.
We'll talk about this letter in a second. We might as well just let him finish.
Second, that was published all over the world, was outlining my concerns with the implementation of N95 non-medical and surgical masks for protection from COVID. So I've received support. I haven't received much negativity. I haven't really received too much comments saying you're wrong or anything like that, especially from professionals. And I don't expect to, because I'm not guessing. What I talk about, I know. And and it's just overall just kind of an eerie silence over the whole thing. Nobody really wants to talk too much about it.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for being on the Rebel News today.
Thank you so much, Drea. It was a pleasure.
I would think that the silence that he's talking about is like dumbfounded silence that this guy is asking the kind of questions he is. What the fuck?
Straight up, as someone who works in the hospital, yeah, that's pretty much dumbfounded silence. What the fuck, Chris? What is that?
Can I also say, like, that stock footage of the person in the full hazmat gear slowly sliding down the wall, they missed a golden opportunity to interlay, I can't remember the name of the song, but the "Who Can Say."
Yeah, I wish too, if they had like the rights to like footage from like horror films, or like if they were showing like Alien and then like running down the hallway or something in like hazmat suits.
Shots from Quarantine and all these other horror movies with like people running away from shit. Oh my god.
But that kind of like self-importance though is interesting too. It's like he wrote some sort of letter to a politician and he was like, you need to respond to me because I'm this enlightened human being, Chris Schaefer here, who works for Savecom.com.
Savecom.com.
And you need to listen to me because I'm an expert in my field, and like the fact that you're saying nothing is just proof that they have nothing to say because I'm so fucking smart. I'm Chris Schaefer, right? And it reminds me of I don't know if, because I know, Ron, you've been in academia as well. At what I used to go to a University of Waterloo, and University of Waterloo has a big physics department. It's connected with this other thing called the Perimeter Institute, and the Perimeter Institute is big in the world of physics. So, for example, Stephen Hawking was like a physicist in residence at one point at the Perimeter Institute. So, big name physics-y thing. Now, I wasn't involved in physics, but I was involved in the philosophy department, and a lot of the professors who were philosophers of physics had interactions with the Perimeter Institute. And being involved with the Perimeter Institute, they would get like emails or packages all the time from like these kooks who like came up with their own theory of everything. You know, and it would be like, I've been sitting in my basement for years developing this thing like outside of academia, and I've like come up with the perfect idea, right? And you, academic person in your ivory tower, needs to read my proof that I've discovered the secrets of everything. And what Chris is doing has that like air to it.
100%. 100. Dude, I still get emails on like scientist social media platforms like ResearchGate of people like, please, I'd like you to review my paper. And it's some weird like philosophical mumbo jumbo about how like dark matter within the human body controls like space time or some weird shit like that. And it has the exact same sort of feel of like what Chris's letter is, which is, I spent some time thinking about this with no one to give me any sort of background information in virology, which he's talking about, and therefore I think you should take me seriously. Like, yeah. Chris, no, we're not even talking about the same thing. Like, we're talking about face coverings so that you don't pass the virus to other people. And you're complaining that we don't have N95s for every single person to protect them from getting the virus itself. It's like, it's just, we're talking about different things, man. Also, what do you mean? Like, the virus is just gonna drill down into your skin. It's got like a little nose, and it's just gonna stick down in there like a mosquito and get in your blood. That's not the way viral load or transmission works, Chris. Like, yeah, if you have an open wound, sure. I mean, like when we're drawing blood from people that, especially now in COVID, like, we want to make sure that we don't have like bodily fluids that are going to touch our mucous membranes or hit our eyes or things like that. But like, you know, if we get a flash of blood on the skin, which we don't do because we're safe, because we wear gloves, you know, personal protective equipment, Chris, it's going to wash it off. It's going to wash it off, report it, and we'll get tested. We'll probably be fine. Because that's not how it works.
Yeah. So,
well, that was beautiful.
We're not done. So we're done with the video. But in my searches, so first I'm going to look at the letter that he sent to the politician out in Alberta. And the only reason I want to look at it is because most of what's in the letter, like he said himself during this interview, so it's not that relevant. But the one thing that I thought was interesting was his addition to what he thinks we should be doing about COVID. And so this was his response here. So this is a duplicate of his letter. And then it ends with this. So if masks are not effective in preventing illness, what is? How about the age-old, tried, tested, and proven method of protecting our health with a healthy diet? Clean water, avoidance of processed junk and fast foods, plenty of fresh air, sunshine, moderate exercise, adequate restful sleep, and avoidance of stress. We all have an immune system that can fight and overcome any COVID-19 threat if it is healthy and we nurture it.
Except those with, autoimmune disorders and compromised immune systems, Chris. Just going to forget about them real quick.
Well, this is just health woo bullshit that like you could just somehow magically make yourself immune. Like I could just like magically think myself into proper health and just not get infected by diseases in which your immune system has not like been exposed to yet.
I mean, if you want a truly healthy immune system, you need to get on that all meat diet, really.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. I don't know about that. My daughter has been keeping me in Russia for too long. But it's like this common like misconception with the immune system, which is that like you can somehow magically boost it, and it's like that is kind of like a meaningless saying, right? Like your immune system responds to things, so the only way to like quote unquote boost it would be to like expose it to the thing that it then needs to fight. And given that this thing is the novel coronavirus, it hasn't been exposed to it yet. You know, so it's not like you could just somehow like, I don't know, improve your immunity. Now it's like, sure, there's like some comorbidities, but the thing that disgusts me about this is like some people might have comorbidities and not even know that they have it, right? So then you get infected with, oh, thanks, Palm8819 for following. I guess I gotta be better at this Twitch thing. Yeah, like the idea that somehow now I lost my train of thought. Distracted me with the blue.
All right, I didn't realize it would make a noise.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, like boosting your immune system is just not the right thing. I mean, this is why we're waiting for a vaccine, right? It's the whole reason we're waiting for a vaccine. But I learned some more interesting stuff about Chris Schaefer, so we'll end on this. I in searching for information on the guy, I found out that he wrote a book.
Oh.
Are you ready for this?
Oh, gosh.
Lay it on me.
The Coronavirus Conspiracy. An exercise in mass fear and mind control by Chris Schaefer.
What?
And here's the thing, I almost wanted to start my free 30-day trial so that I can get access to this thing. But I'm not that masochistic. But yes, he wrote a fantastic conspiracy thing. And here's the thing, I will give him credit. This was written in February 21st. So this was before all the lockdowns. He just immediately jumped on the anti-COVID lockdown, or like the pro-COVID conspiracy bandwagon, like way before this thing kicked in.
Hey,
incredible.
The best grifters are on the train well before it gets activation.
Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just wanted to focus on the few bits that I have access to on the preview. Oh no, I didn't want to start my free trial. Oh
no. I do like that it has 2 out of 5 stars. I would love to see the reviews.
Oh, we'll look at some of the reviews in a second.
Are they good?
Some of them are pretty good. Yeah, so what do we got here? So I'm going to read the introduction because I love this, okay? It is now the middle of February, and I'm going to do it in this voice, and the coronavirus has been a mass media story for 5 weeks already. My dear friends, please read on with an open mind as you will start to realize what is really happening here and why. Is this apparently new coronavirus an epidemic, pandemic, or simply a false flag? It's actually too early to tell. As of this writing, on February 20th, it is certainly neither an epidemic nor a pandemic. Mass shutdowns and quarantines are occurring. For what? Just 75,752 infected, resulting in a paltry 2,130 deaths worldwide. You know what is a real health worldwide health emergency? Real health worldwide health emergency. Okay, buddy? Heart disease and stroke are the world's biggest killers, which cause the premature death of an estimated 17 million people every year. I don't know if that number's accurate, but we'll just go on. What about cancer? Is it an epidemic? Well, according to the World Health Organization, globally, about 1 in 6 deaths is due to cancer. Cancer kills millions of people every year, yet there is no government scare, intervention, or emergency measures. Who's not scared of cancer?
Yeah, seriously. Like I was going to say.
Yeah.
And what like governments have constantly been doing things to research it and figure it out.
I get some sort of info thing in my email or by mail every month telling me lower your risk of cardiovascular disease.
Yeah.
I'm important.
I'm just happy to see that literally every single thing that he wrote in there aged very well.
Well, not only that, like it gets worse because the cancer thing. I think in America, COVID is now more deadlier than cancer is. I believe I read that somewhere. I could be wrong, but I think I read that somewhere.
Well, as an American,
but
I don't believe anything.
But again, like America aside, right? Like your numbers are high because you guys, because of Trump, were not as prepared in putting forth like the measures. So here's the thing: that's like with us doing things. Imagine if we did absolutely nothing to prevent COVID spreading.
Right.
Like this thing would have like run rampage through all of us and done a lot of damage.
But, and we might see some of the. I mean, not to get too doom and gloom here, but here in Ontario, we might see some of the ramifications of opening a little too fast and restrictions being eased a little too much on things like banquet halls and stuff.
Well, that point is why I kind of wanted to do this video now too, which is that we're seeing a huge uptick because of fucking dumbasses like these people. Like they're killing people. They really are killing people by putting out this propaganda bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's so thin and stupid, and I wish my fellow human beings could see that. So hopefully through our mocking it had an effect. But I'll finish the few paragraphs left here.
Sure.
We do have a deadly disease epidemics that our government and media don't want to draw too much attention to. Why? Where is the health crisis, government intervention for heart disease, stroke, and cancer? Where are the quarantines? Like quarantine for cancer? I don't fucking know. How do you quarantine for stroke? Like, where is the fear? Yet government and mainstream media have people deadly afraid of a virus that has killed just 1,875. Now here's the best part. So it's like the virus has just killed 1,875. Yet literally 2 paragraphs or whatever ago, he said it killed 2,130.
In the time it took him to write that, the data was correct. Like 300 people? I don't know. What a dummy.
Fake crisis. At this point in time, this apparently new coronavirus is a fake crisis, no question. So that's the introduction to this wonderful book. And we just have access to a few of the chapters here. And the only thing that I wanted to highlight is this wonderful chapter here. Chapter 1, Event 201. Do you know what Event 201 is?
Is that like a patient zero type thing, or what is this?
So this is a really stupid conspiracy theory that started near the beginning of this thing. And it's been brought up on Rebel a few times, but like very briefly. And so I haven't really like dug into it. But yes, Sarah was right in the chat. It was the test run. It was an exercise. So basically, I think it was put on by Johns Hopkins University. I might be wrong on the specific institution, but also Bill and Melinda Gates participated in it as well, which is the big like, oh no, Bill and Melinda Gates, they're gonna like poison us or something, right?
5G.
And part of what the thing was, it was a tabletop exercise. So it was like one of these things where they like tweak some parameters and then you set up like a scenario where people have to respond to these parameters and then see how the system holds up, right? So it's like a game to see how effective certain strategies would be to cope with a specific virus, right? Mm-hmm. So then the other question is like, so a lot of people then say, because this happened 6 months prior to the outbreak, and they were focusing on a coronavirus, that therefore this was them, like, I love it, like, they put it like, this is them planning for the COVID thing. But it's like, why would, like, if they were planning and this was somehow to expose the fact that they're planning, why would they want to expose that? And why would they specifically do it, like, 6 months in advance? That, like, just so, like, internet sleuths could find out that they did it and go, look, we caught them. You know? It's
yeah.
My other favorite part about this is, so yes, they were focusing on a coronavirus, but they had modeled the virus after basically SARS, which COVID-19 is not like SARS. They have different like viral parameters, I guess, in the game scenario, such that like you can't, if you're planning for the SARS virus, it wouldn't be the same plan you put in place that you would for COVID-19.
Okay.
Which is also evidence for why this stupid thing did not see COVID-19 coming, right?
Right.
But of course, it's basically Bill and Melinda Gates were there, and it had to do with the coronavirus. So therefore, this was the secret plan being unveiled, because the Illuminati always unveils their plans so everyone can see them.
Yeah, it's like any villain. Right before they have success at the end of the movie, they go on a long-winded monologue about why they're doing what they're doing, and it's up to you to stop them.
So long before we had mask mandates, Mr. Chris Schaefer was already deep in this conspiracy zone, believing batshit crazy things way before anyone else was. And then, of course, as soon as the mask stuff starts coming down, he's like, oh, guess what? I work for Safecom, and I have the secret knowledge of mask technology. Let me interject myself into this conversation. Step aside, medical practitioners. Your expertise is no longer needed, because I, Safecom director, have come to save the day.
They would have gotten away with it. It would have been a close favor.
I could just picture like pushing away from his desk one day and be like, hold on, honey. The world needs me now. I have the proper expertise. Oh my god. So that's Chris Schaefer. We're done now.
What a guy.
Oh my god. It's so like I want to hope that this isn't having as big an effect as it could be. But there's a lot of stupid people that, like, there's clips of David Menzies, and again, like, I haven't been picking David Menzies stuff just because it's basically person on the street interviews of like, do you like wearing a mask? No. And the thing is, like, all these people at these events, like there was the one in Toronto where there was like at least 50 to 100 people, and they're all just like, oh, Rebel News, I love you. And like, that's terrifying to me. Because they're the ones, like, all not wearing masks and just, like, not giving a shit and spreading it to everyone. And they're somehow believing this bullshit, which is so obviously, patently fucking absurd.
Yeah, well, like I said a couple times earlier, like this shit is comfort food to these people, right? Like they don't want to think critically. They want to have the people they watch on TV or on the internet or whatever say the things that they agree with and like without any sort of critical input. And that breeds this kind of shit.
Yep. And it's depressing. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
Yeah, that was my final thought. That was it.
Yeah. Elron, you're going to leave us with some words of wisdom?
Man, I gotta say, I really wish that your country would stop exporting such batshit crazy people. Because holy fuck. Oh my god, they're doing the devil's work for him.
I guess it's a good time to sign off because now Chris Schaefer has made my daughter cry.
God damn you, Chris Schaefer.
All right, I'll just say we have a podcast. You can check it out on any of the podcast apps. It's Imperial News. If you're not already a listener to Imperial News, we basically break down Ezra Levant's weekly show that he does. And Ezra Levant is the creator, runner, director, person of Rebel News, the crap content that we just watched. And if you want to join Elron or Ken in the chat, you'll need to donate at the $10 or above level of our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/Imperial News. I also want to say that right now there's an ongoing conflict between the Indigenous people of Six Nations and the Canadian government. And I don't have the fucking I guess I can do this. Oh, magic. They had a basically province-wide protest today. And so as much as I want to say give money to me, which, you can do both, donate to them and to me, but they need legal funds to support their cause because the government of Canada is rounding up a bunch of Indigenous protesters, like going directly to their home and rounding them up. So please, this is the link to the thing. It's very bad, and donate to this cause because they need it. We need to help these people who are defending their land from being taken. And that's all I got to say. Keep fighting, and thanks for showing up. Thanks to the people in the chat. That was nice. We had viewers for the whole stream. It was nice. Bye-bye.